In management matters, the evolution of 18F Consulting. The General Services Administration's Innovation Lab launched more than 1 year ago and partnered with numerous federal agencies to help digital projects succeed. Now 18F Consulting will start to specialize. This month they announced niche market number 1, the digital economy practice. For more, I'm joined by Jay Finch, head of digital economy at 18F Consulting. Jay, let's start with the basics. How will this new policy vertical work? Tell us about it.
Sure. Historically, 18F Consulting has engaged agencies after they have a well-defined view on a particular problem they're trying to solve, as well as perhaps a view on what sorts of technology is required to solve that. Instead, 18F Consulting now, with this digital economy practice and others that we're considering launching, will engage agencies well before their decision to buy or build technology, so that policymakers can have a view of the different sorts of technologies and tools and methodologies that they can use in order to achieve their policy goals.
Now, Jay, what type of projects will you take on and how do you choose them?
Generally, we will think about the types of projects that we're taking on based on our ability to actually deliver outsized value. We have 4 distinct areas of capability, which include user-centered design and product strategy, data and tech architecture, people and organizations are recruiting as a service business, and our ability to help folks think about modular acquisition as well.
According to Government Technology, White House Senior Advisor Todd Park plans to grow 18F to 500 employees by the end of 2016. That's despite talk of funding cuts. How dependent are these niche markets on staffing?
Broadly, we're absolutely dependent. As folks think about budget cuts that will affect the ability for the government to do its work, obviously. However, we are funded through the Economy Act, which allows us to charge agencies for the work that we provide. And while we generally need to be cost recoverable, that does not mean we're able to charge a profit. So we think that there will definitely be an impact, although it's unclear exactly how.
Was the digital economy practice simply the first vertical with enough team members to stand alone?
So broadly, 18F has been growing very fast to try to meet the demand of the digital needs of the U.S. federal government. We just looked inside of our bench of talent and realized that we had the right folks to start to do that sort of work, to test this hypothesis around whether or not it made more sense for us to engage with agencies sooner rather than later. And so it seemed to be a natural first fit.
Now, Jay, there's some concern in the private sector about 18F's approach to the acquisition process. I'd like to read part of an op-ed written by Professional Services Council CEO Stan Soloway. It was published by Washington Technology in August. When GSA's 18F team was stood up, many of us were concerned about their seeming indifference to the acquisition system. The ability to purvey their capabilities to agency components without having to go through the often tedious acquisition process was, in fact, one of their key selling points. Now, Jay, Washington doesn't have a shortage of private sector technology consultants. Is your office in competition with them?
Perhaps, maybe not exactly in the way that you might think. We're certainly in competition with the traditional ways in which the government has been buying and building technology. And so what we've done is really armed the rest of the federal government to be a much better and educated consumer of how they might procure those types of things. And as a result, unclear whether or not that results in less business or more business, but we do think it's better business for the U.S. Consumers and the U.S. constituency.
Now, what about Soloway's main point? Does 18F Consulting benefit from an unfair advantage, namely that you don't have to go through the same hoops as private companies do?
So again, I don't necessarily view us as in competition with the private sector. I will say, though, that we are still a government agency. No one is going to benefit in the private sector context while being at GSA. And in addition, we still have to deal with a lot of the same challenges that other government agencies need to deal with, such as hiring, such as trying to get high quality talent to come to the government, notwithstanding some of the challenges or perceived challenges of working in the government. So I'm not sure that the unfair advantage is the appropriate way to think about it. However, I do think that ultimately it would be better for America generally if we think better about how we buy and build technology.
We appreciate your candor. Jay Finch, head of digital economy at 18F Consulting. Thanks, Jay.
You got it.